Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to the third lecture of the course of ComNet and Internet Working. My name is Engineer Jafar Ali and I am your instructor for this course. Let's start with the recapitulation of the previous lectures. In the previous two lectures, actually, we have studied the detailed OSI model. All the layers of it has been explained to you very clearly, and now we will move towards our other model, that will be TCP/IP. Today's activity, as you know, that we are going towards TCP/IP model, and this is the model that is practically implemented. You know that OSI model was not really practically implemented. It was just a layout, and this TCP/IP model is basically the evolved version or the modified version of that OSI model, and it has been implemented for several years. Now, introduction of TCP/IP. This Internet Protocol Suite, commonly known as TCP/IP, is a set of communication protocols used for the Internet and similar networks. It is named after the two most important layers. You know that in OSI model there was a transport layer in which we have used UDP and TCP, and that TCP is over here. And another layer that is used in this model is basically IP and Internet Protocol, and which were the first two networking protocols defined this standard. So these two standards, these two protocols are defined the name of this standard, that is TCP/IP. So now here is the relationship between OSI and TCP/IP model. You can see that there are 7 layers in OSI model, but now these layers are shifted, or you can say transformed, into 4-layer model. The first layer is basically network access layer. This is basically the combination of physical layer and data link layer as compared to OSI model. The network layer in OSI model has now termed as internet layer. The transportation layer is termed the same. The name is kept as same, and the application layer and presentation layer has been combined in this model. And you can see that there are several protocols in the TCP/IP architecture model. You are finding several protocols: FTP, SMTP, Telnet in the application layer. After that, DNS, SNP, SNMP, and RIP as well. And in the transport layer, there could be TCP or UDP, but most of the architecture is now implemented on TCP. We will look over that in the coming slides. After that, there is Internet Protocol IP, and the last there could be any network architecture, and that could be Ethernet or topology, anyone. Now coming towards the major characteristics of TCP model, you know that TCP is basically connection oriented protocol. It means that there is a between a client and a server, or you can say that a transmitter and the receiver, before the data transmission actually starts. So you have to establish a path or dedicated resource between the transmitter and the receiver, or a client or a server, before actually starting transmission. uh, the TCP/IP provides basically reliability, and how it can provide reliability using several methods. It can use data acknowledgement. We will learn that what is data acknowledgement, what is three-way handshake, and what is checksum on both header and contents. Also that it must be kept in mind that it also performs, as you know, that flow control, that sender cannot overwhelm receiver with the data. So sender cannot be bursting the data on the receiver. That is meant by flow control. So there should be an entity or a body that is controlling the flow of the data. So that is why TCP has played a vital role in this model. Now coming toward the top layer of this model, that is TCP/IP, is still the same as OSI model, that is basically application layer. And this layer is basically a combination of presentation, application, and session layer of OSI model. So we have combined the other three layers, the top three layers of OSI model into one layer, and that is termed as application layer. And it provides a way of applications to access the network. This layer also contains higher level protocols, and we will be looking at that. That what are those higher protocols, and this layer is also made in such a way that it has the ability, or it has the compatibility to use both TCP and UDP protocols. So you can either use TCP or you can either use UDP protocols uh, for this in this model of the network, that is TCP IP. Now coming towards UDP, and UDP is basically, that use the data column protocol, and it offers a faster way or a direct way to send and receive the datagrams over an IP network with a few error recovery services. So it has not much reliable as compared to TCP, but it also provides faster delivery uh, because it has no established path. So the data could be routed from any path, and the chances of their error recoveries but are minimized. Now, what is TFTP? This is basically advanced version of application layer protocol. There was a protocol known as file transfer protocol (FTP). Now, this is the advanced version of that. It is the most simplified version of FTP protocol, and it has no security features. So, the security features has been removed, or you can say that security features has been ignored completely in this TFTP. Now, if if want to combine basically TFTP with UTP, it usually occurs on a LAN because physical links are very short and the devices are not far enough from each other. So there is no issue of packet delivery, and you can use that UDP in your small links, small area, and small distances between the computers. So you can use that UDP over here. SMTP is used instead of TCP because of the error checking capabilities. SMTP has much more error correction capabilities or error checking capabilities as compared to a TCP. So since we want to our email or any file very important, so we want that to have a saved delivery. So that is why we can use SMTP also. Now here is a working model of TCP IP. You can see that there is an application layer, and there is, which is, let's suppose, HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. After that there is a transport layer, and let's say we have selected the TCP protocol over here. After that we are having a network layer. At this layer, let's say we have selected the IP protocol, internet protocol, and in the last, the data link layer is there, and you can use several protocols that we will be looking in the coming slides as well. After that there is a media. So if a user want to communicate to a targeted server, or you can say a host, a web server, so it cannot directly communicate to this server. This is not possible. And if a layer of this node, this node want to communicate a layer of with another device, so it can also not communicate with this layer of the another device as well. So it has to follow the path that we already discussed in the OSI model in detail, that it has to follow all this route to go towards its destination. So if this laptop want to connect with this server, so it has to follow all this route before actually start communicating. All the data should be transferred, or you can say should be transmitted through this route. Similarly, if server replies back, the data will be following this path, the route back path to this user on the laptop screen. So this is the basic working model of your TCP IP. After the application layer, there is basically the transport layer, And you know that it again I'm this is again same process that it can use either of TCP or UDP. So this choice is actually made based upon the application transmissions reliability requirements. If your data wants to be delivered, if you want your data to be delivered fast, or you can say in a short time, you can use UDP. But if you want your data to be sent but in reliability, in reliable communication, you can use a TCP model. So it basically depends on the application requirement, that what your application requires from the network. So the transport layer also handles all the error detection and recovery, etc. It can provide you checksum, it can provide you acknowledgement, it can provide you timeouts. And now, what is timeout? Timeout is basically if you want to send some file in a medium or towards the receiver, and you say that there is a lot of this the line is not secure. So it is also possible that your secure data gets routed from one node to another node, finding the route. And mostly it occurs in your networking, because one file, let's say this is the transmitter and this is your receiver, and there are, let's say, more than 50 devices connected to this, connecting between these two uh, nodes that are transmitter and receiver. So there is a possibility that your data will follow all these uh, nodes before actually reaching the receiver. So it is not very secure. You can see that the data has reached to the receiver, but after passing to, let's say, 50 nodes, let's say there are 50 nodes in between them. So this is not a good choice in terms of security. So for that, you can use a timeout. Timeout means you will use specific time. After that time, or after that hops, you can also use timeouts as hops, number of hops. Now, what is hop? Basically, hop is uh, if a data from one node is being transferred to another node directly, this is known as one hop. So this is one hop, this is hop number 2, this is hop number 3, this is hop number 4, hop number 5, hop number 6, hop number 7, hop number 8. So you should see that the weight or the link weightage is actually 8. You have to cost, this is your cost as well. You have to pay 8 hops before reaching your receiving end. So this is not a good method, or you can say there are 50 nodes involved in between them. So you can say the hop count could be 50. So this is not a good choice before transmitting your data. So what we do actually, we uh, allocate a timeout of or a hop number, and we say, let's say the timeout is, let's say, 10. So after 10 hops, if the data is not reached at the receiver, whichever node will be carrying the data, let's say after 10 nodes the packet is still here at this layer. So this packet, this node will be discard this packet to make sure the security that no other device can have this file in the future, because you see that a lot of time has been passed. Already we have covered 10 hops and the data is not received. So after 10 slots, you can say 10 hops, the data will be discarded by the node which was carrying it at that time. So this is the timeout control transmission, and this is very good in terms of security. And end-to-end verification is also performed by this layer. And unlike OSI model, TCP/IP actually treats reliability as end-to-end problem. The major uh, target of TCP/IP is actually reliability. It is mostly used whenever you want your packet to deliver. It majorly occurs if you want your data to reach the destination more securely and more safely. Now coming towards the internet work layer, this is the third layer of this model, and this is also known as internet layer. In the OSI model, this layer was named as a network layer, but now in TCP/IP model, this layer is termed as internet layer. And the main purpose of this layer is actually to organize or handle the movement of the data on the network. That how your data from the transmitter to the receiver will be routed. So this is done by the layer, and this layer is basically internet network layer. This layer is responsible for addressing, packaging, routing functions, and you see that the core protocols of this layer actually are IP, ARP, IMCP, and IGMP, etc. There are several other protocols, and we will study several protocols in this course, inshallah. We will start with the IP Internet Protocol in the next lecture, inshallah, and we will cover several protocols of the TCP/IP model and the OSI model as well in this course. Now, the Internet Protocol, that is IP, is basically a routable protocol, and this is responsible for addressing. You know that what is IP addressing? To allocate a unique logical number, unique logical address to a user. Routing means to find the optimum path from the transmission to the towards the receiver, and the fragmentation, you can already termed it as segmentation and reassembly of packets. So you see that this layer is actually performing almost the same task as the OSI layer 3 was performing, that was network layer. So this is also providing you IP addressing, routing, and fragmentation and reassembly, etc. for the packets. So it is more good protocol. There is another protocol that is defined in this layer. This protocol is termed as ARP, and this is basically address resolution protocol, and this protocol is responsible for the resolution of the internet layer, that address internet layer address to the network interface address, such as hardware access. We will be seeing it in the coming slides. Now that this layer is the last layer of the TCP/IP model, that is the layer first, and this is basically nothing but the physical layer and data link layer in the OSI model. This layer is also known as network interface layer. This layer normally consists of a device drivers in the OS, that is operating system, and a network interface card, NIC card. We will be looking at what is NIC, network interface card, attached to the system. There is a hardware device known as NIC or network interface card. We will be looking at in the coming slides. Now both the device drivers, that is a transmission and the receiver device, and the IDC card, that is basically network interface card. These devices take care of the communication details with the media, with the server, and this information is used to monitoring purpose and many other purposes. So these 3 or 4 devices are involved in communication for maintaining the details. Now, what are the key features of TCP/IP? The first main feature is that it provides logical addressing. It uh, it also provides routability. It also provides name resolution. It also provides multiplexing. It can also provide interoperability. Let's see what this means one by one. A logical addressing basically means that if you, let's say, if you have big networks, logical addressing of big networks into smaller networks using devices such as routers. And why do we use it? Because we want to reduce our network traffic. So for that reason, you can use this model as well. A network can be subdivided into smaller subnets. You know that what is the benefit of dividing a big network into a small network. You can handle it more efficiently, and a message can travel efficiently from source to destination using IP address basically. So this is the main feature of TCP/IP as well. The other thing is basically routability, and routability means that this TCP/IP model helps data packets to move from one network segment to another network segment. If you want to move within your network, you can also reroute your packet for using this model. So this model can also provide you routability feature as well. Now, what is name resolution? You know that remembering big names or big numbers is not easy and is not human friendly. So TCP/IP allows to use human friendly names, which are much easier to remember. And this name resolution servers, commonly known as DNS, you also know that this is a DNS. DNS is basically domain name service. This is also basically kind of DNS. Name resolution servers are used to resolve the human readable name, and this is also termed as fully qualified domain names FQDM to an IP address or vice versa. So you can use these names that are easy to remember, easy to call out, and easy to work upon as compared to the numbers or big names. So this is another property of name resolution that is provided by TCP/IP. Now, what is multiplex? Now, what is multiplexing? Multiplexing is basically accepting the data from different applications and directing that data uh, to different applications, listening on the different receiving computers. So it has a common shared path from the transmitter towards the receiver. And this TCP/IP provides you the property of multiplexing. Then you can actually embed different data from different applications to the end user that is using different applications as well. So this is also provided by TCP/IP. Uh, the another feature of TCP/IP is basically interoperability. Uh, you, interoperability means to work simultaneously on different networks. You can operate at different boundaries. So TCP/IP can work in a heterogeneous network. It eliminates the cross-platform boundaries. You can easily shift from one platform to another platform using this TCP/IP model. Now, coming towards TCP communication. TCP communication mainly consists of the three main tasks. The first task is basically you have to establish a connection. You know that in TCP/IP there is established connection already before transmission of the data. So first of all, you have to establish a connection from the transmitter towards the receiver. The second is the thing is you have to transmit the data, and the third one is basically to detect the error, correct it, and send back the acknowledgement. So you see that this is basically a three-way handshake. You also call it you can also call it three-way handshake. And first of all, a sync is sent towards the receiver. After that, the sync this receiver, the host, basically you can see that in the diagram that the host responds. The first step is basically the host sends synchronization request towards the receiver using this path. The second step is basically the host send back the acknowledgement of the synchronization appeal to the receiver, to the this host one, that is your client. And after the client one has received the acknowledgement packet of the synchronization request, it will be able to transmit the data, and this thing will goes on further and further. So basically this is three-way process. Now, what are the applications of TCP/IP? There are several applications, but the major one are internet. You can use internet. You can use voice over IP. That major applications like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. These are now converted. These are now shifted towards this voice over IP. The another feature, another major application of this TCP/IP is basically wireless mobile technology. You can use different wireless technologies, and the best examples of this application TCP/IP of TCP/IP is you can see the in future there are driverless cars. They are coming driverless cars. So there will be a huge opportunity of this model and several other opportunities. And this is all due to this TCP/IP. And in the last, you can also use TCP/IP for your broadcasting services. So this is several applications that TCP/IP provides you. Now, recapping all the TCP/IP model, this TCP/IP model is basically divided into four layers. The first layer is basically termed as application layer. The second layer is termed as transport layer. The third layer is basically internet layer, and the fourth layer is basically network access layer. Application layer may be consist of many protocols. Some of them are mentioned over here. It can use a DNS system, that is domain name service system. It can also use a host configuration, that is boot or DHCP, etc. It can also use email services, and it may be using SMTP protocol, POP protocol, IMAP protocol. There are several protocols, and it is not possible for a single human being to learn all of these protocols by himself. So I will be teaching you few of these protocols, and uh, I will suggest you to learn the important ones by yourself as well. There is another protocol of file transfer, that is FTP, and we have discussed about TFTP, that is file transfer protocol. And in the last, if you are using any web services, you can use HTTP, and you can also use another protocols that are provided to you by application layer. Another layer is basically transport layer, and it can provide you two protocols either. It can be a UDP or it can be a TCP protocol, and you know the differentiation between TCP and UDP. Now you know that UDP is basically connectionless and TCP is connection oriented. You have to basically establish a path from the transmitter towards the receiver. The next layer is basically internet layer. Internet layer is divided into several protocols. You can use IP internet protocols, you can use network access stable NAT, you can use IMCP, open short path, and different protocols. There are several other protocols, BGP, etc. These are several protocols that are used in internet layer, and we will be covering major of these protocols in this course, inshallah. And in the last, there are network access layer, and this layer can provide you multiple protocols as well, that is ARP, PPP, uh, Ethernet, or any other interface devices. Because now in this layer, in OSI layer, we have discussed that physical layer is directly connected to the devices or hardware or the medium. And in this TCP/IP model, this network access layer is actually doing the same task. It is providing you the interoperability. It's providing you the connectivity with different interface devices and their drivers, etc. So this is a small uh, protocol that is established or developed from the previous OSI protocol.
So let's start with the networking devices. So those devices that are required or essential or necessary if you want to be in a network, if you want to be a part of a network, if you want to operate or communicate within a network, then you will be needing some devices, and these devices are basically termed as network devices. And in the previous lecture, we have also established that mostly hardware components are used in lower layers, and the upper layers are not basically hardware, they are mostly software. The lower layers are basically hardware. So lower layer includes layer 1 physical, layer 2 data link, and layer 3 network layer. So in these devices, now all these devices that we will be looking today will be mostly used in the lower layers of OSI model. So the first device, that is NIC, this stands for basically network identification card, and this is the important hardware component. It is commonly termed as network adapter, as you see that I have mentioned network adapter over here, but the actual full form of NIC is network identification card, but mostly it is installed in a system by the name of network adapter, and you can see it by yourself in your computer settings. Sometimes you have some IP cloning issues or any other errors, due to which you are not able to be a part of a network, you cannot connect to the network. So you mostly right click and start troubleshoot on the network, and you see that there is a dialog box which shows that your network adapter has been reset and the problem is resolved. So that network adapter is basically nothing but your network uh, identification card. It resets your NIC, and basically your problem gets resolved. So let me show you in my system, and this NIC is basically. So this NIC is basically responsible for transmitting frames from a host to a medium. It basically specifies the architecture of network. The NIC, it has to specify some information, and this information is about architecture of the network, that either the network is Ethernet or token ring or any other architecture. You can take any other architecture, but the architecture is specified by the NIC. And the second thing that NIC tell you or specify you is basically the medium. So let's say if you are using an NEC card for UTP medium, that is unshielded twisted pair, so the same NIC card will not be working in the any other medium. Let's say you have changed the medium to optical fiber, you want to go to optical fiber, or you want to go to any other medium. So this NIC that you used for UTP will be not working for the other mediums. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to take that into account while deciding a medium is not not the only thing you need to change. You need to change the NAC as well. So next comes the MAC address. This is basically the physical address, like IP address. We discussed in the last lecture. IP address basically is logical address. That was not physical, that was logical. It may be vary, it can vary every time you log onto a network or you connect to a network. Network may be giving you different IP addresses, but this is not the case with MAC addresses. MAC addresses are not logical, they are physical. Uh, and this physical address is basically burned into a ROM of every network interface. So MAC address is basically not changeable. It is burned and it is not changeable. And you know that MAC address is usually 12 digit hexadecimal number, but you should be knowing, you must know that uh, the first here is example of the MAC address. You can see that it's basically a 12 digit uh, code or the number. The first 6 digits actually represents the block ID, that which block this MAC belongs to, and it is normally specified by the manufacturer. So you can say that this is the ID for the manufacturer, but the manufacturer has its own ID, so he has to put that in somewhere. So he will adjust that in your MAC address. And the last 6 digits are basically the device ID, that is also unique, just like IP address. But IP address may vary, and this MAC address cannot vary unless you do cloning or any other technique that change the MAC address of some devices. That is entered, that is uh, studied in ethical hacking, where you change the MAC address, or IMEI cloning. That is all about ethical hacking. I do not recommend such techniques. Uh, let's go to the next slide. Now, what are frames? NIC basically breaks the data into frames, and these frames carry some information. It is the information is basically about the MAC address of a NIC, and both the transmitter and the receiver. The frames will have to carry the information of NIC. And the most important thing that the frame carries is CRC. And you know that what is CRC? CRC is basically a technique that is used to reduce or eliminate the error or to correct the error. It is embedded. The CRC is now embedded in these frames are uh, uh, which have to travel towards the destination. Now, what is hub? A hub is basically connecting central point of any physical or star topology, logical topology, bus topology. These hub basically manage the communication among the using a host or any other devices using among different members of the network. But it has to follow some method, and the method is that in step one, a host basically sends a frame to another host through hub. It cannot the device cannot send the data directly to the other device. It has to be passed through the hub, and the hub duplicates the frame and send it to every other host connected. So you see there is a lot of security issues when you talk about hub, and that because hub is duplicating your file, and it is sending it to all the other users. So this is very harmful for if your data has some security concerns. The host to which the frame is addressed basically accepts the frame, and every other host basically discards it or ignore it. If it has memory, it will store it, but if mostly in mostly cases they will discard it. So basically it is less secure. As you see that, you can see that this is not very much secure as compared to switch. In this, that will be switch. And what is switch? Basically switch is a multi port bridge that performs filtering, and this filtering is basically based on the MAC address. And why this is recommended? Because it is more intelligent than hub. It is not working same as hub. It is basically more secure, and this is used at layer 2. And how this works, let's start with the detailed discussion of a switch. Basically a switch is a multi-port bridge that performs filtering that is based on MAC address, and in addition to that it provides additional features that is not found in bridge or hub or any other network device. While mostly bridges can process only single frame at a time, and these switches can perform multi frames simultaneously on the different channels. This is major thing, that this can perform multiple transmission, multiple frames, but on different channels. So switches offer more guaranteed bandwidth to switch port, and you will have to bear the cost. That is the reason, because you have to allocate a dedicated bandwidth for a specified user, so you will have to pay another cost for extra resource. Similarly, switches can make forwarding decisions based on the MAC address. For example, a switch can be configured to only accept frames from a specified MAC user. If you want that no other user sends you the message or a frame, so you can easily change the settings of the switch and allow only the user that you want to receive packets from using the MAC address of that user. And you see that this MAC address will be really important in switch. And similarly, like like bridges, these switches operate at layer number 2, that is basically data link layer. Switch basically builds a database based on the MAC addresses, and this is where the forwarding decisions has been taken from. Eventually, MAC switch basically learns about the location of all the devices. Similarly, the switch basically identifies the source address of incoming frame. If the source address is not in the forwarding database, the MAC basically adds an entry, and it is assigned, it is stored in that database. So if the next time the same user or different user want to communicate with that device, it basically do not have to create another channel or another path. It will look into its basically database. So if the if a user want to send a packet, but the destination address is not in the database, The packet will be sent out to all the ports except the one who has sent the packet. Except that, all the remaining nodes will be getting that frame and that message. So if the destination address inside the database, then it will the switch will not transfer the data to all the devices. It will only forward the data to that specified port or that specified user. And broadcasts are always forwarded to all the posts except the one that send the broadcast. Now, what is a wireless access point? A access point is basically a hub, but it is mostly wireless, uh, and it uses the radio waves instead of the wires and communication, and it is used at layer number two. It is just like the hub, but it is working at layer number two, and that too in wireless. Now, what is a bridge? You can see that bridge it creates a single aggregate network from multiple communication networks. You have different networks, and different networks can connect to each other using a device, and that device is basically termed as a bridge. Let us look at some of the more devices that are really into uh, uh, topics that are really into discussions nowadays, that is gateway, router and firewall. And you have heard about these terms very much, I hope so. So internet work devices basically are that devices that are using multiple networks or subnets together, and it basically enable the communication between host or any other different types of network. So you have a gateway, a router and a firewall, and there is a small difference in all of these. I will tell you in the slides. Let's start with the gateway. A gateway is any device that basically connect that basically connect one administratively managed network with another. Basically, the gateway is a device that controls a flow of data between two networks. If you are leaving a network, you have to pass through that gateway. And if you want to enter into a network, you have to pass through gateway to enter into a network. So this is basically the gateway, and this is oftenly used to describe a specialized device that translates the data between two networks using different protocols. It also translates the data for you if you are changing your network. A gateway is also connected to one type of computer system and another. For example, if you want to connect your PC client to mainframe computer, you can do that using just a gateway. Now coming towards router. Router is a device that basically connects two or more network segments or subnet. Basically, router receive packets and read their headers, and there they find the addressing information that which user it is addressed to, and from that it send them on their correct destination on the network or internet. It can be any network. each each subnet has a unique and logical network address, and this router basically manages a routing table, and in that routing table the path is mentioned from a destination to a user. So if a user want to transmit a data towards a receiver, it will look at the routing table, and that routing table will be stored in the router, and the routing table will tell the path that the packet has to follow towards the destination. Router can also be used to connect network with different architectures such as Ethernet. It can connect Ethernet to a tokening, and a router basically forward packets to another networks by maintaining the information in the routing table. I repeat again, it has to manage its routing table, and it keeps updating its routing table again and again. In the start, if it is not there is no entry in the routing table. Let's say you have bought a new router, so it will have zero entries in that database that is termed as routing table. But eventually and gradually, after some time, it will be able to locate some destination points, and it will be able to find the shortest path or the optimum path or the best path towards the destination. Now coming towards firewall. A firewall basically is a router but with additional security features. It can be programmed with security rules, and this is the reason to restrict the flow of traffic between networks. A firewall can control the type of traffic that is allowed into the network or out to the network. You can basically, in mostly offices, you see that some in some offices you cannot use the computer for personal activities, let's say Facebook or YouTube वगैरह, and that basically is due to the firewall system. They have blocked the traffic of Facebook or YouTube. And in some banking sector or some financial sector, you also see that you cannot even plug the USB into a laptop, and the reason because of that is security. So a firewall can be used in terms of network topologies. I am talking about network. Firewall is the one which handles the security features of all the devices that are connecting with each other. And these rules basically are set up by firewalls. These are basically which determine the performance or the security level of that network. A firewall can either be hardware devices or software installed into a operating system. It can be both. It is not necessary that it is a hardware piece. It may be software. Let's as I've given you example that you cannot even plug the USB into a company uh, system. So the reason is because they have installed software firewall in their systems.
So that's all for today's lecture. If you have any questions regarding TCP/IP, you can write it down by yourself, and you can ask it in the coming class. I hope to see some good questions from your side. I will welcome your questions, and I will be happy to answer that in class discussion, inshallah. So be prepared for the discussion, because this topic is very vast topic, and it cannot be understood, or you can say contaminated in a single piece of lecture of 1 hour or 2 hour. So the more you ask, the more you will learn. So it's better to ask more, because I know that there are several questions that would be coming into your mind. So it is better to write them down on a paper, so that you can ask that in class. I see you in the class, inshallah. Be prepared for the quiz as well. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.